What's poppin', everybody? I'm Jeff Wall, and today we are going to be recapping UFC 260. I'm joined by my good man, Peggy Kubea. Peggy, this is first time here. Both of us big fight fans. Obviously, you haven't seen us do a recap in a really long time, but we are finally going to give you one right here, right now. First, let's just start off the obvious, Peggy. Francis Ngannou absolutely destroyed Stipe Miocic in his rematch. Talks of a third fight. We'll get into that later, but let's just talk about Francis Ngannou and the massive achievement of beating probably the best heavyweight of all time.
He just looked amazing, man. Like everything was just so fluid. It was I knew the fight was over when you see Stipe coming out in the second round, and he looked like he just got hit by a bus, and he was just like you're looking for, I don't know, all his stuff was all over the place, and he just had this thousand eyes out, a thousand yard stare looking out at Francis. Like it just he didn't look confident at all.
It was pretty nuts. I mean, like he wasn't ready to throw a punch after that round. Like he was way too scared to engage. I wouldn't say scared, but like he was hesitant. He knew what was coming, and I don't think he knew exactly how to get back in there. He got clipped on the eye too, with the same eye that Daniel Cormier poked like 500,000 times. So there's that. DC can be blamed for this loss from Steve's point of view. But Francis Ngannou just looked amazing. I mean, there's a lot of talk of the wrestling. I never really thought that was the biggest concern. The biggest concern to me was just generally his striking was bad. Like Francis Ngannou has gotten by his entire career by being the faster, longer, more powerful guy with a really good chin too. And he's gotten away with it. And then with Stipe in the first fight, he didn't get away with it. This fight now, he's like way better, way more composed than we've ever seen him, because usually he just freaks out. This fight, he was so composed. He was an absolute like trained killer out there, and I was thoroughly impressed. I mean, the shots he was hitting Stipe with, the last punch that knocked him down, it sounded like he broke every bone in his fucking face. Excuse my language.
Well, even before then, man, like, because Stipe is just so good with like absorbing damage and recovering pretty reasonably. Like we've seen that in the DC trilogy, right? But this is one, like another moment, I mentioned one moment before, but there's another moment that I realized where like, okay, this is different, is when in the first round, Stipe was eating those shots, and then he went to go wrestle, to go wrestle Francis, and Stipe did pretty well wrestling in DC, and then Francis took his back like it was nothing. I'm like, oh, he's feeling those punches. Francis taking someone back? What?
Yeah. That was one of the craziest parts. Like he actually just muscled him too. He just like fully like ragdolled him. He like his wrestling looked way more sound than it did before. But yeah, like Stipe, that was a rough round for him. That was a really rough round to come out to get ready for the next part of that fight. And we'll say like it's definitely a more or less diminished Stipe. This isn't even the same Stipe that fought Francis the first time. But either way, Stipe is still Stipe. But man, Ngannou just looks like an absolute killer. It's so hard to see who beats him, because he's already beaten probably the second best heavyweight in the division, Curtis Blades, twice. Like I just don't see what's gonna happen. I mean, credit to Stipe though, man. Like he took those shots really well in the first round. Like that was incredible. The fact that he didn't get really dropped before like the last shot of the fight pretty much was just incredible. Like it shows you how unreal Stipe Miocic's chin is, and the fact that he even had the confidence, and then still like right before he got knocked out, he was like, he just said screw it, he was ready to come after Ngannou. But it is what it is. He kind of pulled out that last ditch option there. Doesn't work out for him. But Francis Ngannou, now the heavyweight champion, the guy that the UFC clearly wanted to, and it just kind of goes to show, when you let a guy get better, when you let him figure out his flaws, give him some time to get his confidence back after a pretty rough loss, he can become a lot better. And Francis Ngannou like showed that maturation process. Like it was pretty incredible and good for him. I think everybody's happy for him. It's a really good story. But moving on to what would probably be his next fight, or so you would hope, so you would think. But then Jon Jones, he goes out with two tweets, and as Jon Jones does, he says, "Let's play, baby," and then he says, "Show me the money." So I think that last one probably means that the fight's not going to happen. In my opinion, at this point, like if he just wants to get paid, then let's just go to Bellator, John. Like what are we doing here, John? You're never going to go up. You're definitely not going to go up now. Why would you go up now to fight Francis Ngannou? I don't know. What do you think the UFC would actually pay him the money? Because personally, I think he loses anyway. So
Will they pay him the money? Yeah, sure. I think with the ESPN deal, you got to put big fights on, so probably. But bro, like Francis was like prime Kane, bro. Like I've never seen nothing like that before. From like in because what he fought Stipe the first time, what, 3 years ago,
3 years
2018,
ago.
December, basically 2 years ago, because like December, I remember watching that fight. It was like December or November 2018, so late. And that kind of progress against a guy that it's crazy. So if I'm Jon Jones, bro, I don't want no parts of that, bro,
Yeah.
because he just showed you wrestling's not real. He just picked him up, picked the man and threw him. Like it was nah. Like you remember when UFC guys just say wrestling's not real? No, that I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think, and also like if anybody hasn't noticed, Jon Jones is like incapable of taking anybody down now. He even struggled to take down Gustafsson in their last fight when he was bigger and everything. Like he basically just had to get into a scramble. He can't actually shoot on anybody anymore. So I don't know what he thinks he's going to do to Francis. I mean, like, hey, look, John, go in there, be confident. Please make this fight happen because I think you're going to get destroyed anyway. But I mean, like, I don't see it happening. Honestly, I don't, just because the UFC is trying to set a precedent with Jon Jones because they know what happened with Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor woke up a lot of fighters, and fighters kind of realized, like, wait a minute, I can ask for something. If I want something, I should ask for it. Just like Conor McGregor did. I can call people out. I can do this. I can do that. I can speak up. I can vocalize, and then people will I can turn myself into a commodity versus the UFC being the only commodity. But the UFC doesn't want to do that. They don't want to have Jon Jones have the power and say, like, if I speak up, I'm going to get paid. So they won't do it. I don't think they're going to do it. I honestly don't. I think if
You don't really want
anything,
John speaking, because I mean, when he speaks, there's nothing really interesting comes out. Like, I'm a Jon Jones fan, so you got to throw those out there so people don't get upset. But yeah, he just like he's like Stipe. Like, I mean, Dana White was loving life tonight, bro. He finally got rid of him. He got rid of Woodley. Scott Coker is, he got the email and drafts right now. So like Dana White is he had a great night.
but it's scheduled to send 8 a.m. Whatever Jon Jones, like Western time. He's sending it to,
You know
he's
the
sending it to
vibes.
Stipe, he's sending it to Tyron Woodley, he's sending it to Almeida. Man, he's sending it to every loser on this fight. I mean, Scott Coker is loving life. Before we move on though, you know who might be loving life more than anybody? Daniel Cormier. This guy is like a dad living through Francis Ngannou because he's just like, oh, you can beat Stipe now. Now you can go beat up Jon Jones. That's the fight. That's the fight to make. I don't care. No,
Bro, he was so thirsty for that. He was like, he was acting like Ngannou was a dog about to sick on Jon Jones. Like, he was, yeah, Jon Jones. Like, man, like, relax.
Anything to get one over on Jon Jones. I think that's what we learned today. Because if he doesn't take it, then DC's just going to have like one more disc to chirp him with whatever. Apparently he's over it, but I mean, clearly the evidence shows he's not over it and he's still a sore loser. But whatever. Let's move on though to Tyron Woodley, maybe the sorest loser of all time in the sport of MMA. I also think that the fight was kind of sad. I mean, like it was just the whole thing was just an encapsulation of Tyron Woodley as a fighter and his massive decline. He hasn't learned how to do anything except for put his back on the fence, throw right hands, and defend takedowns. And then you saw that because when he tried to be aggressive, when he was rocked, he had no instincts to fall back on after like over a decade of fighting. So it goes to show like what happens when you have like bad coaching, to be honest with you. How do you feel about
I
it?
don't think so much it's coaching. I think it's part just he's from that previous generation. So I was like, he kind of reminds me of. I mean, I don't want to use this guy because this guy is, first of all, completely different weight class and way more technical, but in certain aspects. But in the striking, he's almost like a Joseph Benavidez, where from that era of people throwing very looping punches, simple
One strike at a
1-2.
time. Like
One
you're
strike at a
Cooper.
time, yeah, right. So he's from that era, and I was telling a buddy during the fight that if Tyron Woodley was fighting in that Rich Franklin era, he'd be the greatest of all time. That's what we'd all be calling him, that, because you could get away with that. But you could throw one massive punch and everyone goes ah, and the people just run with their chins out, like that's not the case. And he looked all right, man. it was. I mean, I think it all cut us by. And I think it cut us all by surprise. Where they hit the bell, and the guy runs right into, I don't know, right into a clinch, throws the overhand right into a clinch. It was kind of sloppy. Like I love Tyron, but the UFC wanted to put him out the pasture, and that's what they did.
I mean, they've been wanting to put him out to pasture. Like every chance they could have gotten, they tried everything they could. They wanted Till to beat him, and then that was probably the best performance of his entire title reign. It is sad though. It's sad because it just actually both Stipe and Tyron really showed like just how the sport will eat you. Like if you
Yeah.
don't up your game or you don't get out on time, like Stipe probably should have left. Like the sport will get you. The sport will get you back. And it doesn't diminish anything. Obviously, like, casuals are going to be casuals. Haters are going to be haters. They're going to say what they want. But like, it just shows how sad this sport can be sometimes because Woodley just looked like an old man trying to try to fight off like a
Yeah.
burglar or something, man. It was sad. I didn't want to watch it.
That's
It
at a
was
burglar,
unwatchable.
you know.
Yeah. It just wasn't fun, man. It wasn't that fun to watch. I mean, maybe for Dana White, but yeah, Tyron Woodley. I mean, someone tweeted that maybe he should go fight Oscar De La Hoya because he's coming back to fight. I mean, that would be something I would. I mean, like I wouldn't watch it because I'm not going to watch Ben Askren and Jake Paul over there. But I mean, why not if you're Tyron Woodley? Why not get a decent paycheck and probably an easy win? Peggy,
But you
let's
know,
finish.
when's tax season in the US?
I have no idea.
Because I'm just telling you right now, right? Whenever tax season in the US is, you're gonna see Woodley, Machida, Bellator 280. It's
Yeah.
happening. I'm telling you.
I mean, if he's not done, I think that's got to be where he's going. So, like pretty much just like every like decent or big name UFC fighter is going to be in Bellator for over the next
But
5 years.
don't let me see him go PFL. That's how I don't want to see that. I don't want to see
I,
that from Tyron, man.
I think I gotta think that's mainly just like the dudes under Ali Abdelaziz and I forget who the other guy is that's running that thing, but yeah, no, he's probably going to Bellator, and I mean he can do whatever he wants there, go make his money. But a guy who wants to probably making tons of money and probably is making a little too much compared to what he actually is Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley, I mean, my God, man, like the UFC loves protecting these guys so much. I mean, this dude, I mean, okay, first, let's just talk about the fight first before I blow up. But like, first of all, it's like, okay, why are you walking away if your guy's clearly not done? Stop trying to be like Sean O'Malley's always just trying to be bigger than he is. Or whatever. I mean, he's always trying to be bigger than he is, and then he walks away twice. He doesn't walk away twice and has to go in and finish. Buddy, just go in there and finish it so you don't take more damage on your paper mache leg. But like, I mean, the other thing too is like, when is a fighter other than Cheeto Vera just going to kick Sean O'Malley's leg? I just don't understand. Like it's so obvious that it's such a glaring disadvantage. I'm pretty sure it's like nerve damage, which is like irreversible. And Almeida just keeps going to the body, and he doesn't kick the leg whatsoever. And it would have been his ticket to win the fight. Instead, he gets brutally knocked out again, which also doesn't prove anything for Sean O'Malley because we've seen this before from Sean O'Malley and we've seen this before from Almeida. So for me, like this doesn't do anything for me. It's just like, okay, we knew both these guys could have the potential to do this. I don't know. What do you think of the Sugar Show?
Yeah, I mean, I think he fought well. Like, I wasn't overly impressed with his performance, but he's got a very unorthodox stand up, which was it's fun to watch. Like, I like his style, but it was a bit of a boring fight in the sense where like he was never in any danger. Almeida just and not that like I mean for him it's a great outing, right? Like you show up, pick up a dub or a TKO and not be in any danger. But it it was very strange. It was a very strange fight because Almeida is significantly shorter and does not have the reach advantage at all. Like he's given that up, and he stood outside of range almost the entire fight. He was in within he was in within range for Sean, but not for himself, and he was content. And I think, at one point in the third, right before he got knocked out, he had 17 strikes, and to Sean's like almost 90. it was just a strange fight. He was never in any danger, but Sean looked good. Like I'm not, I know you're not a huge fan of him or nothing, and I'm not either. But he's an exciting fighter. He's got really good hands, and we'll see how they build him. Because this one, I'm almost looking past it. There's nothing really to talk about here. Just the guy was eating shots and dancing, and yeah, he walked away twice. But the second time, I mean, it was kind of rightly so. That guy was just, he was just living off of, I don't know, pride or whatever, man.
I mean, I think the ref should have stopped it on the second knockdown because it was a pretty bad. Like, no, you don't do like a cartwheel to the other side of the ring when you get knocked down. You should be stopping that fight. But yeah, no, I don't know. I think the bantamweight division's a tough division. If
Oh
if
yeah,
you're not good, we're gonna find out pretty quick. And I mean, we already kind of did. Like Cheeto Vera, I don't know if he's gonna be a title contender, but I think he's gonna be like right at the top. Like he's gonna have to get lucky to get a title shot. But he pretty much owned him. Like he pretty much owned Sean O'Malley. I think like you're right though. Like with O'Malley, you always see like the potential. Like he's got really good reflexes, right? So it lends to him having like good slick head movement that you see, right? So we kind of think like, oh, we don't really see that, right? But like he's so inconsistent with it. Sometimes he's got it, other times he completely doesn't. I don't know if that's him getting kind of complacent, maybe. And I mean, we know that'll cost you in a fight, but I mean, he'll be the only one paying, not me, so I don't really care. He definitely has like nice hands. He's accurate as hell. I think I think the thing is just like it's frustrating because it's like this guy's on a main card, and it should be like where I either you're pumping him up or like he's fighting somebody legit. And personally, I think he really should just be fighting somebody legit. When you're in the UFC, you should be fighting the best guys. And to me, it was just like who cares? Like this is a matchup that doesn't tell you anything. It's just like another one for him to style on somebody, some old, not old guy, but a guy that's just been through so many wars. Like I feel like I haven't seen a fight where Thomas Almeida hasn't been brutalized. So I feel like it
yeah.
doesn't show
No,
enough.
he takes a lot of damage, and then it'd be interesting to see like where do they go from here with him, right? Like I was thinking initially, first thing came to mind would be Rob Font would be a sick fight, O'Malley Font,
Mhm.
right? But I'm like, I don't know if the UFC want to sacrifice him at this point. I mean, I don't want to say sacrifice, but they don't. I don't know if they're gonna. He's not really at that level, but I think they want to give him a big name that's not as dangerous. Or like, if that big name wins, it's not like it's all over for the guy, right? And it also has to make sense on the Rob Font. Like for Rob Font, I'm sure he'd want to take that fight because it's a Sean O'Malley's a bigger name than he is, and that's just going to bump his pay. But it doesn't really do for much for him in the rankings. But on second thought, though, a name that kind of fills both, because you don't want Jose Aldo. I'm not going to see that. I don't think he's ready for a Jose Aldo fight in terms of name recognition and just what he's done. But a sick fight would be Marlon Moraes.
I was literally just thinking that because like
Yeah,
Marlon like is kind of on the downswing. Like he looks
yeah,
pretty rough, but if he is kind of, still something of the guy we think he is, and if there's any guy that was going to just destroy that leg, it's Marlon Moraes. Like
yeah.
Marlon Moraes will show you if you got a guy or not. Because I mean, listen, let's just talk about from the UFC's perspective. If I'm the UFC, you want to see like, okay, because he said like, hey, I want to shut everybody up about that's talking about like, my leg being weak or whatever. Like, okay, this is the fight to figure it out. Because if Marlon Moraes kicks that leg, we're going to figure out pretty quick if that leg is actually compromised. We're going to find out real quick. And you know what? Because if it's not, then Sean O'Malley is probably going to style him. He's going to absolutely kill him. He's going to
Yeah.
get a big name win, and he's going to get to move up in the division. Probably move past the tougher guy, like the tougher guys than Rob Font or Pedro Munoz, who would be a really tough fight for him. Move on to guys like Cody Garbrandt, who doesn't exactly have the best chin in the world, and then maybe give him like a shot at Peter Yan, and whoever wins can kind of take that momentum with them. Wait, I'm kind of jumping ahead.
Bantamweight's one of those
Obviously, I'm assuming
divisions.
now Peter Yan's going to
Bantamweight's
be
one of those divisions where there's absolutely zero wrestlers. Like none. No one wrestles ever.
pretty much.
Everyone.
Well, like they're all defensive wrestlers. They're all
Yeah.
defensive. Like when Faber was there, when Cruz was kind of there. I mean, he's not really there right now. I wouldn't say he's like a guy who's going to be fighting Sean O'Malley. Like they were there, but now like everybody's a defensive wrestler. Like I would even say honestly, like I kind of want to see like him versus TJ Dillashaw. I know he's coming back. I know he's fighting Sandhagen, but that would be kind of a dope fight.
I was thinking Sandhagen
Oh,
because they're
Sandhagen.
close in the same age. Because it's funny with the O'Malley hype. Sandhagen, I don't think he's much older than O'Malley, but the hype is
I'm not sure how old standing. I feel like he's in his mid to late 20s. I'm not sure, but
Yeah,
he's probably pretty close. I just feel like if you do that though, then it's like
no,
typically UFC would give you a title shot off of that, and I feel like then
he's
you're
not
putting him up
there.
too quick.
In that division, he's not there. If he was fighting at 125, then sure. I mean, there's not many. It's not super deep, but 125, bantamweight is their deepest. It's their deepest division. Like
Hmm.
like if you go through the rankings, anybody in that top 10, even I would say even 15 can be considered if they go on a. I mean, top 10 or top five, they're already on a run, but they can be considered real legit title contenders. Like Rob Font, if the last I checked, he was like 9, and he looked amazing his last time out.
There's too many good guys in this division for Sean O'Malley to not prove if he's good or not. Like that's basically
His
what it is.
advantage, he's one of the taller guys in the division, right? So, um, going back to that Moraes fight, it'd be interesting for him because he'll have a significant height advantage. I think Moraes is about 5'6",
Yeah.
and O'Malley is 5'11", and he fights really good at range.
And I think
So
Moraes isn't exactly that defensively good. Like he's
yeah,
been lit up before. So yeah, I think that'd be the fight to make. I think that has to be it. I think that makes the most sense if you're the UFC. It makes the most sense if you're Marlon Moraes. It makes the most sense if you're Sean O'Malley.
yep.
So I think that's it. I think that's that for us, Peggy. So guys, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Lingo Sports for a lot more videos just like this. We got a whole lot more coming. We're going to be doing more big fight recaps. We're going to be talking about a bit more of the world of MMA for you guys because we know you guys love it. So just make sure you're tuning in and make sure to hit that bell so you know when we're on. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please drop a like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Lingo Sports and Lingo News for a whole lot more just like this.